All right, so we will be playing Kahoot today and then doing an independent practice afterward. You'll do the same thing tomorrow, except of course it'll be a different Kahoot and a different independent practice. I just may or may not be here to facilitate it. I haven't decided yet. So, either way, there's a good practice for what you'll be doing tomorrow, except the Kahoot will be like more independent, obviously. You'll still have to take notes and turn in those notes. Today I'll just come by and check them as you do them. So yeah, take notes as we go. Really easy classwork points versus when that's all based on accuracy. So just take notes as we go. Everything that we're going over is helpful for when you take your ACT Aspire test, which is next week you take the real thing, at least the math portion on that Wednesday. All right, Tuesday you take the English parts, and that is for a grade bump. So is the math and the science part. You should really be doing your best on every single part, because I think it's a great way to recover credit if you lost it, and it applies to both semesters. Also, it's on a lot of not necessarily ninth grade standards. It's a lot of things that you should have learned, and I say should have because some of you knows who your teacher was, who knows how you were in the previous years, but it was from things that are more middle school based. That's why we're doing a lot of middle school review. So some of you shine at that area, even though maybe you're not shining in the ninth grade standard. That is still a good way to recover that credit. So do your best on the Aspire. So yeah, we're doing that today. Kahoot and independent practice. You're doing that tomorrow also. And also just want to remind you, yesterday you got your answer sheet back from when we did the first practice test, and that was for assessment points. There's no reason that all of you can't get a 20 out of 20 because there's videos in Schoology, there's notes in there. Most people just didn't have it completed, so that's why you didn't get full points. So correct all the ones that you got wrong with a sentence, work shown, and then resubmit it up until the actual test. April 4th is the last day to resubmit that, and then I'll give you full points without penalty, assuming that you just finish it. To do that, there's a few that I need to pass back that weren't here yesterday, so I'll pass it out in a second. And also Thursday, so this Thursday, I'll be giving you another practice ACT Aspire test for 30 assessment points. So it will be just like that first one we did, but it's not going to be the same answer. It'll look the same. We used a lot of the same images, a lot of the same wording, but we changed the question slightly so that they have different answers. So when you see it, I don't want you to think oh yeah, that was E on the first test, because it probably is not going to be E on this other test. So all you really need to prepare for it is the stuff from this week and last week. So yeah, and it should be pretty easy to if you do bad on it, we'll review it Friday and then you can possibly come in and retake it. So I'm not stressed about it. I hope you guys aren't stressed about it, but just more practice with the material that you'll be taking the real thing on April 5th. So yeah, and plus, since our assessment category is 80% of our grade, we should be putting as much stuff in there as possible. And if you think that this stuff is pretty easy, then that can raise your overall grade a good chunk too. So that you'll be doing third. Questions on anything? All right. So now the Kahoots. Let me press start. I don't think I have it up here. So 1 second.
Some of them might be repeated, but it's because all my classes were on different parts. All right, what type of lines are shown below?
So good, all of you got it right. It was something that was addressed on that first practice test. So good, you got it right. What makes lines parallel? What about the slope?
They have the same slope.
If they have the same slope. So that's like the important part, like, cause it was an essay question on that practice test. That's the important part. That's what makes it parallel. Cause if they have the same rate of change, that's why they're never touching. So yeah, that could be how you know that they're parallel, your justification for that. Some of you say just like they're parallel because they never touch. Well, how do you know that they never touch? Like you would need to just add more to that, like that they have the same slope. So that's good. Do you guys know what makes lines perpendicular to each other? Like perpendicular lines? Okay, but I could have lines that cross that aren't necessarily perpendicular like that. What makes perpendicular lines perpendicular? It creates a 90-degree angle. So this is also something I would take notes on right now because it could show up. But perpendicular lines are perpendicular if they make, well, really they make 4 90-degree angles, but they just need to show at least one of them is 90 degrees. But if one of them is 90 degrees, do you guys know what a straight line, like how many degrees that would be? So then if I'm looking at this straight line, and I know this is 90 degrees, well then this one must also be 90 degrees. And then if I'm looking at the vertical line, well, that's a straight line, and this one's 90, then this one must be 92, and so on. So it's that it makes 90-degree angles. Do you guys know the relationship between their slopes? What was that? Perpendicular lines do not have the same slope, but there is something unique about their slopes. Anyone know? Right now. So then I would write this down. So for perpendicular lines, their slopes are negative reciprocals, which really just means that they're complete opposites, but the formal term is negative reciprocals. So for example, say that my slope for one of the lines is 2/3. Well, then the slope of the line that's perpendicular to that line would be opposite sign. So that's what it means by negative. So it would be an opposite sign. And then what does reciprocal mean? Opposite how though? Like what's the reciprocal of 2/3? 3/2. So reciprocals when you flip the fraction. All right, negative reciprocal, like put it together, it should have an opposite sign and it should be flipped. Okay, so this is perpendicular to that because they're negative reciprocals. So then let's see if you understand. Say one of the slopes, and we're just talking about perpendicular right now. Let's say one of the slopes was -3. What's the negative reciprocal of that? Not 3. Not negative. 1/3 is correct. So it should be opposite sign. So if it started out as negative, then it should switch signs. It should now be positive. And you should flip it. So if it's not written as a fraction, you can make it a fraction by writing it over 1 and then flip it. All right. So one more example. What if it n equals 7? What's my negative reciprocal of that? Okay, 1/7 is partially correct. What to make it fully correct? Negative 1/7. So your negative reciprocal should always be a different sign and it should be flipped. Okay, makes sense? Any questions? So that would be like justification for why something's a perpendicular line, other than if they just cross. Alright, next one. Good. So what type of lines are shown below? I'd argue that you need more information, so I'm giving you a little bit more information. Alright, so good, all teams got it right. So you can't assume that they're perpendicular on your test. These do look perpendicular, but they are missing like a label. So that's why I added in the label. Or they could give you the slopes and then you see that they're negative reciprocals of each other. That's also how you know they're perpendicular. Alright, next one. So yeah, take notes as you go. I know that one was clear, but it'll be fine. Remember, take notes as we go. What type of triangle is represented? Okay, so look at it. It is equilateral. Why? All of the sides are equal and you can tell that they have the same amount of tick marks on each side. So if the problem says we have an equilateral triangle and one side is 2x, find the perimeter. So then what would my perimeter be? Yes, exactly. Because if you know it's an equilateral triangle, all the sides should be equal, and they give you one of the sides, well then that means this should be 2x, this should be 2x. Perimeter is when you do what? Add all the side lengths, and yeah, so 2x is 2x. What's 2x is 6x. Another thing they expect you to remember, so kind of not related to this, but you should write it down, is how to find like perimeter of a circle. The circles don't technically have sides. So what do we call the perimeter of a circle? It has its own name. Circumference. So they don't provide you that formula, they expect you to know it. What is that formula? Anything else?
Where?
Not squared. That would be area. Pi r squared is area of a circle. Then be 2 pi r. The way that I remember it, so like area always has to do like squared, right? Centimeter squared, whatever it is. So that's when you have like r squared or something like that. When it's circumference, so around, it's just 2 pi r, so it's kind of like you're just moving it. At least that's how I remember it, and I have a better way. So circumference, perimeter of a circle, it's 2 pi r. Questions on that? Making sure we know that, since otherwise then you can't do any circumference problems on the test. All right. So what is a 5-sided closed figure called? Oh. I think of it like a penthouse, like the kind of looks like a house, like 10. All right, next one. So pentagons have 5.
Oh, wait. 3.
All right, what is a six-sided closed figure called? Okay, good. Nobody got that one wrong. So hexagon is 6 sides. Pentagon is 5. Quadrilateral has how many sides? 4 for quadrilaterals, because 8 would be what type of shape? An octagon. And I don't know how to spell octagon. Is it octagon? Okay, whatever. And then decagon is how many? Okay, good. So what does it mean when they say like regular hexagon? What does that mean? Okay, what do you mean by normal? Okay, good. So if they say regular hexagon, it's the one that has all the sides the same. So that could help you solve other things. Like if you need to find perimeter of a regular hexagon and they only provide you one of the parts. Or here would be a good question. Say like they give this as 2x plus 1, and they give you this other side as 3x minus 5. No clue if these numbers will work out nicely. But since it's a regular hexagon, we know that these sides should be equal to each other, yet they're written in different ways. So like a great test question would be, what's the value of x? So what would I have to do to solve that? Set them equal to each other, because you know since it's a regular hexagon, that both sides are equal, and then now you can solve for x. Let's do that real quick. When you're solving for a variable, you want to isolate the variable, right? But if it's on both sides, what should you do first?
Add them all.
Well, you could do that. It's not illegal to do that, but what I'm trying to get you to do is move the variable to one side first. So does it matter which one you move? No, I say move the smaller one so it's less likely you have a negative. So I would move the 2x. How do I move it? You would subtract it, because that's how you would make it a 0, right? Whatever you do on one side of the equal sign. Okay, good. What's 3x minus 2x? 1x or just x? Let me write down the other stuff that was there. So minus 5. And now there's a 1 on the other side. Now get the x by itself. How can I make the minus 5 go away? And what are you on one side of the equal sign? So in this random situation I made, that would be a good test question. X would be equal to 6. But if you had no clue what a regular hexagon was, like how many sides or that they're all equal, then could you really solve that? Probably not. So that's why they give you kind of like that. So question, comments, concerns? Okay. So what is the best way to measure the distance between Tyson and Paige's home? Not need a video. Maybe someone water them. All right, so you don't need a picture for this because some of these one of these answers would be impossible. Which one is impossible? Because grams measure what? Okay, good. You definitely shouldn't pick that. The other two are just not very reasonable. All right, but yeah. So kilometers would be the best way instead of inches or centimeters. Do you guys remember that mnemonic device I told you for going from like kilometers to centimeters and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
I mean, I don't know, but I remember you showed us thing. Oh, kilo per kilometer. Right.
Okay, yeah.
He died drinking chocolate.
So King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk.
I'm an engineer.
Yeah, if you go into any STEM field, you will use this a lot in your life, especially college. Anyway, yeah, so King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. So that helps us remember basically the order to convert things. So the K stands for what? Kilo. H stands for hecto. This V stands for good. B stands for base, meaning like it could be meters, for example. What else?
Feet.
No, not feet. Feet is like not the metric system. Grams and what else? Liters. Okay, so if you're going from grams to kilograms, then you move the decimal to the left and so on. What does this B stand for? Deci. What does the C stand for? And the M. Okay, good. All from memory, you guys just did that. So that's why it's helpful to have mnemonics like that. I always get confused on the deca and the deci. I always split them, but like the ones that end in I should be like together. Question? Good. Okay. So if I have to go from kilometers to centimeters, my numbers really should be getting bigger because like, I don't know how to explain it. You just move it up that many times in that direction. All right, next one. So what would be a good estimate for the weight of a newborn baby?
Well, that's goofy, bro. That went my brother and I'm.
Yeah,
Baby's
not 8 ounces. Why would you measure a baby?
Okay, someone give me an example of something that weighs 8 ounces.
Water, a baby.
No, not a baby.
8 ounces like a sandwich.
If it's that small, it's either not born yet or not doing very well. So like a ball. I don't know how much a baseball is, but it's around there. So not a baby.
Your brother's probably a
So
seven.
that's a pretty standard baby.
Yeah.
Anywhere from like 6-ish.
I'm gonna say
8 pounds.
27 pounds.
27,
Huge.
kind of unreasonable, but possible. Now, 8 tons. Do you guys know how many pounds are in 8 tons? So there's 2,000 pounds for every 1 ton. So what math can you do to figure out the total? Multiply this by 2,000. Someone earlier said divide by 2,000, but then if you like check your answer, it wouldn't make any sense. Because if there's 2,000 pounds in every 1 ton, I should have like a lot of pounds, not a really small amount of pounds. So yeah, 2,000 pounds in 1 ton, that would be 16,000 pounds. All right, next one.
That's so stupid.
Round 169 to the nearest 100. Okay, so we still need to work on this because a lot of you still get it wrong on your test. So I'm also gonna add some more numbers to this.
This was not meant to be wrong.
So, all right, what place is that 1 currently in? Hundreds, normal hundreds, not with the TH. What number or what space is that 6 in? What about the 9? Okay, now what about this 5?
I'm in tens.
Tens with a TH. Would be the first decimal spot. What about this one? Hundredths with a TH. And then this one. Thousand with a TH. Something like that. And then I'm pretty sure that's as far as it goes for decimals, unless they say fourth decimal spot or something like that. So wherever you need to round, listen. You underline it, so this one is normal 100, not TH 100. You underline it and look to the right. Since that number falls between 5 through 9, we round up 1 for that thing we underline. Does that make sense? Not the same. So that's why it's 200, because it's closest to 200 versus 100. Yes. All right. And then, of course, if it's 0 through 4, then the number you underline stays the same. Question? Still an issue on our test. I'm taking the time to review it. It's always an issue at home.
I just think.
Okay, Tamia had 6 rows of cards and 5 cards in each row. How many cards does she have in all?
That's not.
Okay, good. So we know our multiplication, right? Now, they also do probability on the test. I can't recall that we've seen those types of problems. So let's just like review probability for a second. So in a standard deck of cards, how many cards are there?
21.
What'd you say? 52 is correct. All right. So just know that because they like to throw those in word problems. They'll say, what are the odds of choosing a king in a standard deck of cards? Well, you know there's 52 cards. And how many kings are there in a standard deck? 4. 1 for each suit, right? So so that's my odds of picking a king out of a standard deck of cards. They like to always add on to that though. Like, what are the odds of picking 2 kings in a row without replacing the card? So what does without replacing mean? So they're not putting it back in. So then how many cards do you have on that second pick? 51. And if you pick the king the first time, then how many kings are left? And then to find that probability, you multiply it. And when you multiply fractions, just multiply straight across, like 4 times 3 is this. I'll give you to put in my calculator. 52 times 51. 2,652. And then you could divide it and get a percentage if you want, or depending on how they have it set up. But yeah, that's how you would solve that. But it'd be hard if you didn't understand like a standard deck of cards. So let me give you another example. Say that we are replacing the card. So we're picking the first card and then we are putting it back. What would be the odds of picking a king the first time? 4 out of 52. And then if we're putting the card back, what's the odds of picking a king the second time? 4 out of 52. So it all depends, like, are they putting the card back or not? They usually say. What if it asks, what are the odds of picking a heart?
450.
No, there's more than 4 hearts in the deck of cards.
Oh.
How many hearts are there in the deck of cards? No, not. Because that's a suit. So think about it. Ace, 2, then jack, queen, king. That's 13 lines. Plus, if you know that there's 52 total and that there's 4 suits, you could just do 52 divided by 4. Oh, now it's telling you that there's 13 of each suit.
Wait.
Yeah, because there's hearts, diamonds, spades, clovers. So there's, if I was trying to find the odds of picking a heart, that's 13 out of 52. And so forth. What are the odds of picking a red card?
Oh my.
1/2. Because there's 26 that are red, right? The diamonds and the hearts. All of the things that like they expect you to know, but you might not know. So that's why we're talking about it. Do you guys understand like dice?
Yeah.
A 6-sided die is labeled 1 through 6, so odds of picking a 3 or rolling a 3. All right. The next one. Yeah, we've already done like half of this, so we're almost done. Which represents 2,345 in expanded form. I don't know that they'll actually give you this type of problem, but it was in our review, so who knows? Okay, good. I don't think we need to review that one. What?
It should add up to that number and be in the order that goes from like its same place. Okay, next one. Okay, I think this is where it restarts. So I'm gonna skip it because we already done that one. And the winner is table 6. Because it starts back over. We already did like half of this the other day. So table 6, whoever that team is, I'm assuming it is table 6. And pick from the bin.
No, it's.
All right, now the rest of the time, you have 20 solid minutes to work on this practice, which you picked up. And I will check it before the end of class. And then if you don't get full points, you could always upload it to the link. Questions on that? Okay. You'll have a different practice tomorrow. So it'll be the same stacks, but it'll be a different practice. So you have that, a Kahoot tomorrow and a practice to do.